My name is Simon. This happened last summer when I was 23. My girlfriend Cadence and I had been planning this camping trip for months, just the two of us. No cell service, no distractions. We had been together for about a year and a half at that point. And honestly, things had been getting a little stale. Not bad, just routine. We thought a weekend in the woods would be good for us. We picked a spot in the URI National Forest in North Carolina. I had been looking at different locations online for weeks, trying to find something that wasn't too crowded but also not totally isolated. The place I chose was a campground about 3 miles down a Forest Service road. According to the reviews, it had around 6 or 7 sites, and they were spaced far apart. We left Friday afternoon around 3, stopped for supplies at a grocery store near the forest entrance, and made it to the campground just before sunset. The road to get there was rough, with potholes and loose gravel, but my truck handled it fine. When we pulled into the main clearing, I felt good about my choice. There were a few picnic tables, some fire rings, and the campsites were tucked back into the trees enough to give privacy. We drove around slowly, checking each site. Most were empty, which was great. We passed one site with a blue sedan parked there, but I didn't see anyone nearby. Cadence pointed to a spot at the far end of the campground, where the road ended at the forest. It had a clear space for the tent and good privacy from other sites. We spent the next hour setting everything up. Cadence is very particular about how things should be arranged, so I mostly followed her instructions. By the time we were done, it was getting dark. I started a fire while Cadence made sandwiches, and for a while, everything felt perfect. We sat there drinking beer, watching the fire, talking about nothing important, just being together, which was the whole point of the trip. Around 10, Cadence went to brush her teeth at the spigot near the picnic tables. I stayed by the fire, poking at it and finishing my beer. That's when I noticed someone standing at the edge of our site, just outside the firelight. I jumped a little because I hadn't heard anyone walk up. The guy apologized for scaring me and said he was camping in the blue sedan and wanted to introduce himself. His name was Aiden, about 30 years old. He had a very intense way of making eye contact that made me uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything. Cadence walked back, and I could tell by her body language that she wasn't happy about the interruption. Aiden noticed her, turned toward her, and said she picked a good spot. Very secluded. He said he was solo camping to get away from people, which was strange because he was at our site talking, and once Cadence arrived, I stopped existing. Aiden's full attention was on her, which wasn't surprising but definitely weird. We talked for another minute or two, and by we, I mean he talked to Cadence while she gave uncomfortable replies. Eventually, I cut in and said we needed to sleep because we were waking up early, and that finally made him leave. As he walked into the darkness, I noticed he didn't use a flashlight, which felt odd. Cadence and I agreed the whole thing was weird and tried to ignore it. We stayed up another hour, then put out the fire and went to bed. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. The moment I woke up, I knew something was wrong. It took me 3 seconds to realize I had woken up to voices in the distance. It sounded like 2 people talking near our campsite. Cadence was fast asleep and my instinct kicked in. Instead of freezing, I unzipped the tent quietly and poked my head out. The voices stopped immediately, like they heard me even though I was silent. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and looked around the campsite. But whoever was there had either left or was farther away than I thought. Eventually, I went back inside and tried to sleep. It was a public campground after all. People stay up late. I just hoped whoever it was would go somewhere else. I didn't tell Cadence the next morning. I didn't want to stress her out. We spent most of the day hiking, which was fun and tiring. As the sun went down, I went to grab more firewood from a pile near the truck. That's when I saw something on the windshield. A napkin folded under the wiper. I unfolded it, and it was a note saying, "You should move your tent." I showed Cadence and told her what happened the night before. She immediately asked if it was Aiden. I said, "Probably, because who else?" While we were talking and getting worried, Aiden suddenly walked up. Same clothes as the day before. Seeing him filled me with both fear and anger. The anger won, and I told him to stop walking up on us like that. I was convinced he wrote the note and was the one talking outside at night. He apologized in a rough voice and said he was just checking on us. Before I could respond, Cadence asked why he needed to check on us. Then he said something surprising. He said he didn't want to scare us but was surprised to see young people camping here because weird things had happened in the area. Strange things. He said he had found deserted campsites deep in the woods, signs of people, belongings, and other strange things. I didn't trust him, but he spoke so casually that part of me wondered if he was telling the truth. He said he heard people walking around his car the night before, so he was leaving early and suggested we do the same. At that point, we weren't arguing. Cadence didn't want to stay, and honestly, neither did I. We started quickly packing up. It was stressful because the sun was almost set. Cadence's hands were shaking as she loaded the car. I tried to calm her, but I wasn't feeling calm either. We finally got everything in the car and left without another word. It was basically dark, and night would fully fall in minutes. As I drove out, I noticed Aiden's blue sedan was still at his sight. That was strange, because he said he was leaving. I saw Aiden crouched near one of his tires, so I stopped the car. I asked what he was doing, and he stepped aside to show a massive slash in the tire. It was clearly done on purpose. Cadence said, "Holy," and I was shocked. Aiden asked if I could give him a ride, but Cadence whispered she wasn't comfortable with that. So I told him I couldn't. He then asked if I would call the police as soon as I got service, and I said I would. We drove down the dirt road with the headlights on full blast. About 100 yards down, I looked to my right and saw them. 3 figures standing in the woods, maybe 30 feet from the road. They weren't moving, and they weren't hiding. It looked like they wanted to be seen. I only saw them for a second, but I was 100% sure they were people. Cadence saw them too. My foot hit the brake without thinking. Maybe part of me wanted to warn Aiden. Maybe I was just trying to understand what I saw. But before I could think, Cadence grabbed my arm and screamed at me to drive. A real scream. So I did. Cadence didn't speak the whole way to the main highway. As soon as we got service, I pulled over and called 911. I told them everything, and the dispatcher said they would send someone to check on Aiden. We never heard back. I wasn't expecting to, but I had a terrible feeling that something happened to Aiden, and that it was partly my fault. Cadence tried to tell me he was part of the whole thing, which could be true, but I think she was saying it to cope. Either way, I still think about it sometimes.